Alright, back to another video. It's another episode of Every Album Ranked. This time it's on every studio album by Linkin Park, but the live album included as a bonus. I will be excluding the band's remix albums because I don't really care for remixes. What I'm going to do is rank all these albums from least best to overall best. Just as a disclaimer, this does not reflect anyone else's opinion, it's only my personal opinion. First up on the list is what is still my least favorite Linkin Park album. That's right, it's One More Light from 2017. If you see my review, you know that I had my share of criticisms toward this album and the band's decision to go into a direction of pop. I'm not saying this was a horrible decision. On the plus side, at least it didn't go in the direction of vaporwave. I mean, let's be honest. Vaporwave isn't even music to begin with due to lack of substance and the fact there's no effort put into it. This album, on the other hand, does have substance and has actual effort put into it. Despite all this, One More Light is very lackluster compared to Linkin Park's other work, but I can't call it a bad album per se, just mediocre. Well, let's set this aside for now. And, moving forward, we have One More Light live, also from 2017. I mentioned in our review that, despite the title, only half the songs are live versions from the album, One More Light. Despite this, the live versions are better than the studio versions, in my opinion. Next up, we have Minutes to Midnight from 2007. This is the first part of what I like to call the Rick Rubin trilogy, since he worked with Linkin Park as a producer on 3 of their albums. Now, this album went in a softer direction in comparison to Linkin Park's first 2 albums, and I can understand this decision because they never wanted to make the same album twice. Still, the album turned out alright. Moving up on the list, we have 1,000 Suns in 2010. This is the second part in the Rick Rubin trilogy and the band's only concept album. Concept in question circles around nuclear weapons. Fans were split on this album due to the heavy use of electronics. I don't really mind the decision of using so many electronics, but I do find this album to be a slight improvement over Minutes to Midnight. Next up we have Living Things from 2012. It's the third and final part in the Rick Rubin trilogy. The album was received much better than the previous 2 albums, and I think the reason why is because the band listened to the criticisms that people made regarding 1,000 Suns and its heavy use of electronics. There's still a large focus on electronic rock with this album, but it's still a good album regardless. Next album on the list is Where It All Started, and that is Hybrid Theory from 2000. So it's the very beginning of the legacy from one of the greatest nu metal bands of all time. Now, a lot of people think this is Linkin Park's best album, but this is my list and I'm ranking them based on my personal opinion. It's also the first of 2 Linkin Park albums to be produced by Don Gilmore. It's also the most successful album to this day, so much so that the RIAA certified it as a diamond album. After that, we have Meteora from 2003. It's the band's second studio album and their first album to be released on their own label called Machine Shop Records, as well as their second album to be produced by Don Gilmore. It's also the only studio album from the band where all 6 members are credited as producers. Just like its predecessor, it's mostly focused on the nu metal genre. However, a lot of people, including myself, point out that it sounds pretty similar to Hybrid Theory. Most people prefer Hybrid Theory, but I have a personal bias towards this album. And this is it. My number 1 pick for the best Linkin Park album is The Hunting Party from 2014. The reason why I picked this as the band's best album is mainly because it had a much heavier sound, and as well as a more aggressive sound compared to the band's other work. It did go back through nu metal roots with this album. There's a lot of focus on hard rock. It even featured Darren Malakian on the song Rebellion, and Tom Morello on Drawbar. It's also the band's studio album to be completely self-produced, since Mike Shinoda and Brad Delson were the producers. And that is my official ranking for every Linkin Park album. If you want to see me go into further detail about these albums, I'm going to leave a link to my album review playlist in the description. You can also check out my other reviews if you want. I know I excluded Linkin Park's remix albums, but I don't have either of those because I don't really care for remixes. I also excluded Live from Texas because I don't have that album. I might get a hold of it someday and do a review of it. Social Collision Course they performed with Jay-Z during a live show. And I might check that EP out someday. Now is the part where I question you. What are your thoughts on my rankings for the Linkin Park albums? What's your favorite Linkin Park album? How would you rank their albums? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to press the notification bell to notify future uploads. Thanks for watching. I have something special planned for my next review.